a model. As you guys can see in my Instagram feed, I do a lot of before and afters, a lot of bobs. Starring bobs, don't go away. So I'm going to do a bob on her. I think it'll be great for her because it's a really good length on her. I'm going to add a little fringe later, so it frames the face really nicely. And I'll show you guys just some simple techniques that I use on a lot of my clients. Something that you guys can use and stuff like that. But just very simple thing. I think cutting it simple and making things really simple is so much easier to replicate because a lot of clients always complain is like, consistency is so important, you know? And having that is a very, very good thing because we're all artists. To repeat the same thing over and over, it's very hard to do, you know? So as you can see, a lot of my feet are very similar, but they also have different texture. By the way, this is Daniel. He just wants to say. I have to say, without my assistants, I cannot be here because they help me so much. So, thank you. So, before I get cutting, because I do a lot of dry cutting, so blow dry is so important to me. And how it's blown dry and how it sits on the hair is so important. I'm not looking for like flat iron straight, but I'm looking for more blow dry so it looks a little bit more straight, but without making it too flat. You know, having this cushion is so important. Can you guys see me with the thing? Okay. Having the cushion is so important. There you go. There you go. Awesome. So that cushion is so important. So I'm not looking for a flat blow dry. I'm looking for a little cushion because therefore I can see the movement. This side I already cut because I don't want to cut down the time. It gets movement without being too flat or having so much static to it, you know? I'm a very visual cutter, so a lot of times I do cut and I also go in and play with it a little bit more to give it that movement, okay? So blow dry is very important, and then I usually do before photos, actually, and sometimes, honestly, when we get so busy, Dan takes before photos, so we use either a Canon or just an iPhone or a Samsung. They're amazing. Like the new cameras on these phones are amazing. So, you know, one thing that's very important, like you need to use natural lighting if you can, or ring light if you don't have the natural lighting. So you can see the before and after really clearly. So next thing I like to do is show you guys a cut. So I usually have like 3 assistants, which helps because I do about like 20 to 25 clients a day because, you know, I like to make money. Who doesn't, right? So I got a system of like 1 shampoo, 1 blow dry, and the other 1 style. So I just hop from one station to the next station, the next station, until I get a little hungry and then I go in and go and back out and do it again. But it's fun. I like the adrenaline of it all, you know? So the blow dry is important, before photos, and then I'm gonna do the cut. So I did half of this side already. Love this length on her. It has good movement, and the layers are not long, they're not too short, you know, and there's a little bit of like movement underneath there, which I usually do a lot of point cutting, because point cutting creates movement and also create, take away length. So it pushes the weight a little bit differently. So depending on how deep you point cut, and I usually do very deep point cuts because it gives it a lot of texture and weight removal to it. So as soon as I finish the bottom pieces, I go into the top part and do my layering. The layering I do is very simple. I like to keep things very simple. Therefore, I can go in and do all my customizing afterwards, okay? So depending on the head shape of someone's head, my elevation depends on that, you know? She has a good round head shape. She doesn't have a square head shape. So I like to keep the roundness of her head, okay? And I have such bony fingers, so I have to make sure that I keep the hair in between this. So my fingers are folded instead of like this. I'm skinny bone Joe, so gotta fold these fingers so it keeps it nice and tight, okay? So you wanna bring this up. I would say elevation round of the head. Get rid of the length. Okay? And again, allow yourself enough hair to point cut in between that, so therefore you can create a lot of movement into it. Okay? And then you probably want to walk this up, depending on the length of her head. You know, sometimes people get fat here. You want to go around and you walk up because it creates a little more volume right here. So that's just a little little tricks here and there. You know, I've been doing hair for like 18 years, so you get to have an idea of like what people's head shape looks like and what it does and how it lays and stuff like that. So it's very important. So I'm going to go through bisection all the way through top of the crown. I have like 4 sections right here. Alright, take the excess length off. This is the bob I do on that girl Marshall that you see in that video. It's so fun and it's so cool that every time we go somewhere, even like international, Dubai and stuff like that, they'll show photos of her. You know, it's really fun, really cool. And don't mind this little hair. Just go in and soften it a little bit more. Okay, I haven't taken up the length yet. And the reason why I like to do that because sometimes when you take off the length, you go in, you layer it, you get shy of the layer, or you layer too much, then it becomes like that, you know? So I like to layer first, get rid of the bulk, and then I like to establish the length. I think there's more freedom to that. Okay? And very, very important thing about the hairline. Even though you section this off, make sure that this part gets covered or else you're gonna have a little hole. So don't worry about how perfect the section is. I'm more worried about how solid the bottom pieces are. So that's more important to me. So you want to bring this up. Again, take off the excess line. Point cut this in. Okay. I like to keep my scissors very loose. So therefore, I can buy another pair, I can't buy none of this. So it makes my hand work less. Okay? And also surgery is not fun for that. So want to keep your hands and your wrists really nice and straight for that. Alright, just going to wrap this up. Make sure that both sides are even. Put your head back. Awesome. Cool. I'm going to wave this out in a little bit, so I'm not so worried about like how middle her parting is, because I want it more versatile. Okay? I'm going to have you stand. Okay? Have you stand up. No. I forgot to don't speak English. I know speak French. My French is horrible. I need a tutor. Alright, so I'm gonna go in and just take off the baseline. And another good, this is another pointer is that when you do point cut, put the hair in here and then your scissor lays here. So you're consistently point cutting instead of like moving it back and forth. You can cut your fingers really easily. So you make this really easy for you. Again, I like to work very easy, efficiently. So therefore, things won't be wrong. And you know what? There's always sometimes things go wrong. So if you can help to eliminate that, that's even better. Okay. Again, my fingers underneath there to help me guide the length. All right. And then you want to repeat the same length. Head position has to be really important. Then you want to point cut this through. Gosh, these bobs are so much fun, but it's so nice to have different people breaking it up, like long hair, short hair. And with these techniques, it's just so easy to use in all different lengths of hair. Alright, just want to make sure that this is nice and perfect. I'm just gonna mash this up real quickly. Bring this up. And then I'm gonna put fringe on her. Point cut this right. Alright. Cool. Have a seat. Alright. Since she was asking before we consult with her with the fringe, people with shorter forehead can have fringe as well. You can go a little bit further back, you know, to make it look like she has a higher forehead. Okay? And then my section is pretty simple. It's from eyebrows, the end of eyebrows to the end of eyebrows. Okay? So I'm gonna go ahead, the fringe I wanna do is like a little bit softer, more shaggy, more 70s feeling to it. Elevate this a little bit higher, like 45. And again, rest the scissors on my finger. And point cut this in. If you keep the scissor really loose, you can make it really soft like that. You know? Because you're barely moving your fingers. The only part I'm moving is my thumb. Alright, just want to make sure that this middle piece gets a little more texture. And I can elevate this a little higher to give it a little more volume, a little more pieciness, a little softer. And I have to say, my inspiration for her haircut was Deborah Hera. I love, you know, I get inspired by music so much, and music has a lot to do with my inspiration, and it's also fashion as well, because I came from a fashion background. So to me, cutting hair is like cutting fabric. It's very similar in a way, you know, if you were to cut denim versus leather versus chiffon versus silk, you know, the tension of your scissor is so different from cutting denim versus leather and silk and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna just stand up just to make sure that the ends are really good. And usually at this time, I just want to make sure that I would spray some water into her fringe so it bend in a little bit more. I'm going to put some products in later. So I'm going to go ahead and have her sit down. So this completes the haircut. Thank you guys. And we're going to go to styling, okay?